All right, guys, welcome to the webinar. Andy Shepherd is my name. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to hear me speak. I love doing these webinars. I'm the clinical lead for Redicare, so I'm the chief nerd. Absolutely obsessed with all this sort of stuff. Everything from fat loss, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, basically anything that pertains to health at all. Absolutely love it. So today what I'm going to talk about is how to lose a stone in 8 weeks. Now, that might sound like a kind of an attention-grabbing, sensationalist type of headline, but I really mean you will lose a stone in 8 weeks, all other things being equal, if you do what I say and apply these principles. So this webinar is been brought to you by Lloyds and Redicare in partnership with Lloyds, I should say. So we're going to go through just very quickly. I'm going to talk about what Redicare does, what we do as a company, and then we'll go through the ins and outs of what exactly you need to know to lose weight. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to tell you that you need to move more and eat less and burn off more calories than you take in. The days of weight loss being considered a paradigm of calories in, calories out have very much gone by, and we now understand the deep endocrinology and hormonal balances that you need to get. It's very, very straightforward, and I'll outline that for you shortly. So first of all, the clinical results we get, we're very kind of strong on clinical data and publishing our results. So when I say you can lose a stone in 8 weeks, I don't mean you might, I mean you will, all other things being equal, because we publish data on this. And that's typically what we see in patients is a 6 kilogram weight loss in 8 weeks. Now, this floors people when they hear it for the first time if they're used to cutting calories and eating low-fat foods in the hope that they lose weight. We instruct our patients not to count calories, not to measure out portion sizes, not to stop thinking about food and just go for a walk or phone a friend. We tell people to eat when they're hungry, stop when they're full, and then we tell them and guide them to eat the foods that fill your body up, that have that strong action on the hormone ghrelin and leptin, which are your hunger hormones, and keep you feeling full. And you actually inadvertently and organically then end up taking in less calories. Now, you do need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight, but trying to enforce a caloric deficit on your body when you're hungry all the time by just eating less and burning off more calories doesn't work. That's why 94% of people can't lose weight and keep it off, because forcing your body into a caloric deficit while you're still hungry is a recipe for disaster, pardon the pun. So the sort of results we see typically are 6 kg weight loss in 8 weeks, which is about a stone, 1.04% reduction in HbA1c, which is just a long-term measurement for 120-day measurement for diabetes. And then we see 48% of patients in that trial normalized their HbA1c. So they were type 2 diabetic, but by the blood marker for blood sugar levels, at the end of 120 days, the end of 8 weeks, I should say, we're no longer diabetic. So type 2 diabetes is not a chronic progressive disease that just automatically gets worse over time. We also see really good control in blood pressure and lowering of triglycerides as well, which is just a marker in your cholesterol. So cholesterol gets better, blood pressure gets better, weight goes down. I'll talk to you about that program briefly at the end anyway. So guys, if you want to understand how to get down a stone in 8 weeks, one thing you must know is your fat storage hormone. So your fat storage hormone is known as insulin. So what insulin does is it tells the body that it's trying to lower levels of glucose. So your pancreas secretes insulin when it's trying to lower glucose. Now, glucose comes from carbohydrate, more specifically processed carbohydrate. So I'm not talking about your kale and spinach and broccoli and cauliflower and vegetables and fruits for the most part. Fruits is a different story, but I am talking about processed refined carbs. So breads, cereal bars, granola, frozen pizzas, even rice, pasta, things like that. They will all boil down to blood glucose. There is only one metabolic pathway for those guys to break down, and that's to boil down into blood glucose. Glucose then causes your body to secrete insulin, and insulin is the fat storage hormone. Now, if you eat fat with those refined carbohydrates, you gain even more weight. That's why things like pizza and then pasta and a carbonara sauce, and basically anything that tastes nice, is so bad for your weight. So ironically, when you eat a burger and it's got, your quarter pounder with your cheese and your mayonnaise, it's actually not the burger and the calories and the meat and the fat that are causing the weight gain. It's the insulin. It's the fuel partitioning. This is known as the Randle cycle of human metabolism. So it's your body secreting insulin, saying, I have to deal with all this glucose from the bread, and then you store the fat. So carbohydrates cause weight gain much more so than fat, but not all carbohydrates. I'm not talking a kind of an Atkinsy way here, but it's hugely important. If you want to lose weight, you have to lower insulin levels. And if we're going to lower insulin levels, we need to know what insulin is. And that's what it is. So the pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin causes the body to store fat. So it's your fat storage hormone. So really important that we know about that one. So you've got those three energy sources: protein, carbs, and fat. Your body can't use protein for energy. It's predominantly for muscular and cellular growth and repair. It can use fat in the form of ketones. That's why you'll hear people talking about ketogenic diets, and you'd be wondering, how are those guys getting by and not eating any carbohydrates? There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate, which is a very interesting fact. You have essential amino acids, which are proteins; essential fats, which are fats, and fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. No such thing as an essential carb. So you don't need to worry about getting enough carbs or enough glucose. You want to get your carbohydrates from whole food sources of carbohydrate, because we understand now that it's carbohydrates that really fuel this, what's known as de novo lipogenesis, which is basically just fat storage. So fat storage is caused predominantly by insulin. So if we look at how the three different macronutrients react in the body, and I'm going to jump out of the science in about 5 or 6 minutes and tell you what exactly to eat to lower your body fat levels really quickly and knock off a stone. But if you look at the red graph here, you'll see refined carbohydrates, and these are basically any carbohydrate-based food, or any food that's got more than 4 or 5 ingredients in it is probably a refined carbohydrate. So this is, and I'll give you the full list in a minute, but breads, cereals, granola bars, fizzy drinks, chocolate bars, donuts, cakes, all that sort of stuff. But also, and this is crucial to know, breakfast cereals, Weetabix, Special K, Cocoa Pops, Rice Krispies, they're all only 2 or 3% of a difference in terms of actual blood sugar levels. So a shocking statistic is that if you check your blood sugar levels after a bowl of cornflakes, an average bowl of cornflakes, 85 and 80 grams, and I'll show you the visual on this in a second, you will have the same blood sugar levels as somebody who eats 21 or 22 spoons of sugar. Now I know this because I'm quite science-minded, and I've been silly enough or mad enough to do it myself, to try it myself. It's just shocking when you do it. A couple of hours after you eat a big bowl of cornflakes, your blood sugar levels are through the roof. So the problem with that is you're going to have high levels of insulin. Now, insulin, again, is the fat storage hormone, and it kicks off this process known as de novo lipogenesis, which is fat storage. So high insulin is not only bad for fat storage, it's been linked to Alzheimer's, it's been linked to, obviously, it causes type 2 diabetes, it causes high blood pressure, it's been linked to what's known as dyslipidemia, which is high levels of the wrong type of cholesterol in your blood. And Alzheimer's has now been referred to in the clinical literature as type 3 diabetes, because it's essentially a hallmark of it is insulin resistance in the brain. So you don't want high insulin for a number of reasons, not least because it will cause a lot of weight gain. So weight gain doesn't come from calories. It's not just about eating more calories than you should. If you believed in a calorie is a calorie kind of hypothesis or way of looking at things, which is probably pushed a bit by the food industry as well, then, and this is how silly it is if you think about it, you would have to agree that 1 avocado is the same as 2 cream eggs. They're the same calories. So are we saying that somebody who eats 2 cream eggs every morning is going to be the same weight as somebody who has an avocado with their poached egg in the morning? And we know on a basic level, we know that's not the case. So a calorie is not a calorie, and how they affect your hormone levels is going to dictate whether you store fat or burn fat. So again, a high amount of digestible carbohydrates, so cereals, breads, granola bars, and all those grain-based foods is going to cause a high spike in glucose, high insulin, which blocks fat breakdown and stimulates fat storage. It also makes you really hungry. So the first thing a lot of our patients say when they're on a whole food eating protocol is, I can't believe I'm not hungry. They say, I just don't feel like eating. You know, I'll have my breakfast, I'll have 2 or 3 eggs, and I'll have an avocado, and then it's 4 o'clock by the time I'm hungry again, and I don't even feel like having my dinner if I have a big lunch. Their appetite reduces on a lot, and I'll cover that in a second. I know I'm rushing through this, but I want to cover all the core concepts, and then we'll get to a Q&A as well. So guys, this is how not to start your day if you want to lose weight. Don't eat breakfast cereals, and I mean really don't eat breakfast cereals. It's become really clear in the clinical literature over the last 3 or 4 years in particular, all digestible carbohydrate boils down into glucose, meaning whether you eat a bowl of cornflakes or whether you eat 25 spoons of sugar, there is no real difference. Now, I'm not saying from every aspect of it, or there's zero nutrition in cornflakes. There's not much, but there's not zero. But from a blood glucose end point of view, exactly the same thing, exactly the same thing. So you see things like only 120 calories per serving. Your body doesn't use calories as a unit of currency. Calories, funnily enough, and this is another mad idea or fact, I should say, but calories don't exist within the human body. You can't check calories in the blood or in your breath. They're a unit of energy for when you measure food, when you burn food inside in the lab. So it tells us nothing about the hormonal effects of that food inside the human body. So that bowl of cornflakes is going to be 120 calories from the cornflakes is going to cause multiple times the amount of weight gain compared to a couple of eggs and avocado. And I'll give you more examples. That's just the one that springs to mind. So guys, if you look at the evidence, even from an epidemiological point of view, how the trends have gone, in the late 70s, we looked at, and I'll give you exactly what to eat in a second and how to lose the son. We looked at a kind of a global experiment without any real evidence, based on something known as the lipid heart hypothesis, which was from a physiologist called Ansel Keys, who decided that it looks like saturated fat and cholesterol consumption are the reason that people are gaining all this weight, because there's more calories in fat. Therefore, everyone should follow a low-fat diet. Now, he actually falsified some evidence. It's a very well-known study, if you look it up, or a well-known story. So low-fat guidelines came into place in 1978, and obesity absolutely skyrocketed over the next 30 or 40 years. So, like I say, I'm quite science-minded, and I can't look at that graph and say, well, just because we eat low-fat since 1978 and everybody gained weight, that doesn't mean that the low-fat guidelines caused the weight gain. So you have to look at a control group. You have to look at populations who didn't follow the low-fat guidelines, and then it becomes very obvious. And those populations are known as the blue zones of the world. They don't eat low-fat. They don't know what a calorie is. They don't know what portion sizes are. They eat when they're hungry and they stop when they're full. And the one thing they all have in common, and this is where the debate can be put to bed for once and for all, which is healthier, a vegetable-based diet or an animal-based diet, it's actually both. Both can be healthy. It's the absence of processed food that makes a diet nutritious. So when you cut out all the processed crap, and by processed food, I just mean any food with more than 4 or 5 ingredients in it. So I have a rule for myself and for my patients: if it's got more than 3 ingredients in it, don't eat it. So I'll give you an example of whole foods that have 1 ingredient in it: steak, eggs, avocado, meat, fish, added fats, low sugar fruits and vegetables, sweet potatoes, all that sort of stuff. Sweet potatoes might be an exception, actually, from a blood sugar point of view, but single ingredient foods is the most important thing to know. Now, if you look at all these common foods, you'll see things like rice, spaghetti, bananas, and their blood sugar equivalents. This is how well the science is understood now. I mean, you're talking in a bowl of cornflakes, in a 30-gram serving, you've got 8.4 spoons of sugar. The average person eats 90-gram serving. I know when I measured up my own serving, just to see roughly what it would be if I was to have a bowl of cornflakes, it was about 130 grams. So I'd fill the bowl right up. So I would have been eating the equivalent to 30 spoons of sugar every day. So you can see how you can get diabetes under control so quickly when we understand the science like we do at Redicare. So guys, reducing hunger and not calories is the key to long-term weight loss. So if you look at the graph again here in red, if you eat processed carbohydrates, the bread, cereals, granola bars, that sort of stuff, what it does is it reduces, fills you up temporarily. It has what's known as a biphasic action on your hunger hormone ghrelin, meaning it makes you feel really full. Think of a big bowl of pasta, and then 2 hours later, you get really hungry again. Now, if you were to eat eggs, meat, fish, avocado, nuts, seeds, full-fat cheeses, full-fat Greek yogurt, the kind of fat and protein-based foods, what happens is, granted, they've got more calories, but what ends up happening is you eat way less because they fill you up much more. So in the blue and the green here, I've plotted out what happens from the kind of RCTs, randomized controlled trials that I've looked at, and you get a much more subdued response. So if you want to test this out, get up in the morning and make a big omelette with like 5 or 6 eggs in it, eat it and see what time you're hungry. And then do the same thing with cornflakes with a few spoons of sugar the following morning. So similar enough calories, probably more in the eggs, but you'll be hungry way later with the eggs. And this is what happens when you eat real whole foods. Your appetite gets suppressed, and there's a difference of about 30%. So again, all our patients say this to us: my God, my appetite is so dulled down since I started following a kind of a whole food eating protocol. So That's how the weight loss happens, not by forcing your body or trying to coerce it into eating less calories. You feed it the food that makes it feel full, and then it'll gladly burn body fat for fuel. So guys, the foods to avoid for optimal weight loss, again, these ones now, it looks kind of like, is this kind of a fad diet? Not at all. It's just the science is really clear. Carbohydrates are not bad. Processed carbohydrates are. So breads and brown and white are more or less the same. That whole brown bread is so much better than white bread is a mixture of kind of outdated science and clever marketing. It's a little bit better because it's got fiber in it. But if you look at the blood sugar response and the insulin secretion from 2 slices of whole grain bread versus 2 slices of white bread, you're talking about 4% of a difference. It's not meaningful at all. Now, have 2 eggs in the morning instead of that and some smoked salmon, and there'll be no insulin at all. So you're going to get lots of weight loss from that. So breads, rice and pasta, breakfast cereals, remember, these are the foods. It's not calories that cause weight gain, it's insulin. It's fuel partitioning, your body secreting lots of insulin, which causes more fat storage. The cakes and pastries are an obvious one, and if you don't think you eat cakes and pastries, but you do eat scones, you're eating cakes and pastries. They're more or less the same thing. Starchy vegetables and high sugar fruits are kind of unique ones because they will cause insulin resistance and high levels of insulin, but they're otherwise good for you if you're metabolically healthy or not looking to lose weight. So they're the foods to avoid. The foods to eat, and when I say this, I mean this quite literally, because like I say, we've published a number of studies on this. As much as you want until you feel full, and then you get to a point. My patients always say to me, like, this just sounds too good to be true. I get to have eggs and I get to have my stir fry and dark chocolate and strawberries and some cream and my meats and fish and Greek yogurt and berries. Are you sure I don't need to count my portions or count my calories? And I always say to them, trust me, you'll notice within the first couple of weeks you'll be down 7 or 8 pounds and you think this is just, it's crazy. Controlling insulin, not calories, is the key to losing a stone in 8 weeks. So these are the foods that you want to eat much more of, guys. So eggs, avocados, nuts, seeds, fish, wild caught, grass-fed meat, cheese, full-fat cheeses, full-fat dairy, not low-fat. Low-fat does not help you lose weight. It's got more sugar and it's going to cause more insulin secretion. It's got less calories, but again, calories don't cause weight gain. Insulin does for the most part. And then lots of green veg as well. So guys, I'll get you to pop in your questions here. We'll do a quick, excuse me, we'll do a quick Q&A here as well. So when you've got a question, pop it into the questions section and I'll get around to whoever pops in the first 4 or 5 questions. It's busy enough, so do pop in your question there straight away. But just to sum it all up, guys, the key dietary steps, and I'll run you through our program as well. Cut down on your intake of those refined processed carbohydrates. Bread, cereals, granola bars. It doesn't matter if it's only got 80 calories. That skinny blueberry muffin that's only got 80 calories but has loads of carbohydrate and sugar in it is going to cause much more weight gain than 3 avocados, 2 eggs, half a block of cheese. It's not the calories that matter, it's the hormonal response within the body. Refined sugars, you definitely want to cut down on those. Your kind of Cokes and Lucozade and those sort of things. Fat and protein, so just consuming good fats, and by good fats I don't mean just plant-based fats, I mean animal fats as well, from grass-fed steak and butter and cheese and things like that. The only bad fat to my mind are those partially hydrogenated vegetable oils or industrial seed oils, which are your kind of trans fats is what they refer to them as. So whole foods, I always say keep it simple. Meat, eggs, fish, added fats, low sugar fruits and vegetables, and just single ingredient foods wherever possible. And exercise is another core component there as well. Okay, guys, I've loads of questions, so I'm going to spend 5 minutes going through these. Maria, what about porridge? This one literally breaks my heart. I feel like I have to apologize about the porridge one. There is no question porridge contributes to weight gain. So exactly the same as any other cereal. It might be a little bit better, but instant oats, here's a really interesting one. Those instant oats that you get from whatever, I won't say any brand, but the shredded kind of ones, you know the ones I mean, that you cook in the microwave. They have a higher glycemic load, more insulin is secreted by the body, and more weight gain than Frosties, which is shocking because you'd expect Frosties to be much worse. So porridge is not ideal. You could, like on our program, we have homemade granolas and chia seed porridges and stuff like that. I'll run you through the program in a second. So no, it's not ideal, Maria. Felicity, what are the best fruits to eat, if any? So the best fruits are the ones that are lower in fructose. So fructose doesn't directly cause weight gain, but the fructose is fruit sugar, sorry, but it goes straight down into the liver and it's stored as triglycerides, so it contributes to insulin resistance, which is what causes weight gain. So it's kind of roundabout way. So your best fruits are the lower glycemic index fruits, like your fructose-based ones that are higher in lower in fructose and higher in vitamins and minerals. So blackberries, strawberries, blueberries to a lesser degree, and raspberries. So any of the berries and the blueberries are to a lesser degree. The ones to avoid, bananas, grapes, all those sort of ones, especially if you're diabetic or have fatty liver. Liz, is fizzy water out? No, not necessarily at all. I drink fizzy water all the time. In fact, I have a bottle next to me here. Are low-calorie crisps better for you? No, they're not, Sean. Not at all, because they're going to be higher in that processed carbohydrate. Why do I seem to get hungry every few hours? So that's most likely down to what's known as blood glucose dysregulation, blood sugar levels going high, dropping down low, and that the effect that processed carbohydrate has on your appetite. When you eat real whole foods and enough fats and moderate amount of protein, your appetite just gets so much better. So guys, I'll come back to the questions in 2 seconds. I just want to show you this. This is our program where I post videos every week. We have unlimited access to one-to-one health coach consultation. So if you want to be coached by me and lose a stone in 8 weeks, and I always make that promise, if you do what I say, I will get a stone off you in 8 weeks. You can sign up for the program. It's €50 for the first month, and it's only $14.95 per month after that each month. And then there's no contracts. You can cancel at any time, hassle-free. So €50 for the first month, $14.95 per month, and then you've unlimited Skype and phone consultations with me or any of our health coaches. So to register for that, you can go to controldtx.com/LloydsPharmacy. If you want to get started on this straight away, guys, we can do our first coaching call over the next couple of days. I'll get you right up and running. So we've meal plans, shopping lists, food guides, cooking videos, webinars, all sorts of stuff, weekly videos that we pop up, and again, unlimited one-to-one consultations, and I will get that weight off you and hit your targets. So I'm just going to take 2 more questions, guys, and I'll let you go back to the lovely evening that we have. Okay, so how can I get started? So yeah, okay, sorry, it's literally just like what I was saying there. It's controldtx.com/LloydsPharmacy, and once you click on that, you can get started. Are cheat meals okay when it comes to fat loss? Yeah, great question. They kind of are. So funnily enough, if you're going to spike insulin, that one big meal where you have pizza and ice cream does nowhere near the same amount of damage as the bowl of cornflakes and the scones every day or every few days. So what happens when you have one meal is you fill up the glycogen in your muscles, and particularly if you can go for a workout the next morning or after it, you'll burn up all that glycogen again. But it takes 2 or 3 days for that to start to build up. So it's the overconsumption of processed carbohydrates on an ongoing basis that causes fat storage, not a one-off. So a one-off is absolutely fine. Felicity, is it better to fry, steam, boil, or bake your food? It doesn't make a huge amount of difference, funnily enough, because the idea that frying was somehow bad for you was because you added calories to it and that you added fats to it. You know, and you've got these 1-cal sprays. Again, all of that information was built within the paradigm of kind of an outdated calories in, calories out model. So personally, I fry or oven cook almost everything. I fry at least twice a day. So I cook my rashers, my eggs, my whatever it is I'm having, my steak. I'll cook them all in Kerrygold butter, or what's known as beef tallow, which is just kind of an animal fat. So guys, I leave it at that. If anyone is interested in the program, by the way, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining me, and make sure to pop in if you enjoyed the webinar. We'll be back in next week, actually around the same time, but 8:30. So yeah, if you want to get started, guys, controldtx.com/LloydsPharmacy, and I can get you started in the next day or 2. Brilliant. Thanks for all your feedback there, guys. I really appreciate all the comments. Right, have a lovely evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.